Hello everyone, this is me, the Undead Viking, and this is Sea of Nadia. Sea of Nadia is a game for 2 to 4 players in which each player will take on the role of a pirate. And you will have your own pirate ship, and you're going to be cruising this pirate ship amongst different islands and ports, trying to collect different resources, and then you're going to be using those resources to open up treasure chests, and hopefully before the end of the game is over, you will have the most gold in comparison to everybody else. Along the way, there are some cool, upgrade cards that you can grab that it will be like things that will make your ship better or make your powers better, give you some more varied options, but also maybe even some ways to kind of screw with the other pirates and steal some resources and things from them. This is a game where you are going to be rolling dice, not like so much like combat or anything like that. Basically, one person is going to roll the dice and for all the other players, and then they're going to give each player a die that is going to tell them what they're able to do that particular turn. It makes for some interesting decisions at that moment. And also, then once you have your turn, you basically have to figure out each turn's kind of a little puzzle, right? You know, you're gonna have a certain number of actions, and you're gonna want to do a certain number of things. And depending upon how the board is set up, where the resources are, where the chests are, what cards are available, those are all things that you're going to have to figure out and just basically try to optimize the actions that you're given on any given turn. The game doesn't take a super long time, about maybe 45 minutes or so, but let me show you how the game is played, and then we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts. Okay, so this is Sea of Nadia. This game doesn't take a great deal of time to teach, and it isn't going to take me a great deal of time to show you how the game is played. But where this game excels is the simplicity of the rules, but then actually trying to figure out exactly what you can do on your given turn with the actions that you are given. Now, just to kind of show you what you're looking at here, each one of these locations on the board is going to have a treasure chest on there, and I'll talk about the treasure chest here in just a little bit. Depending upon the number of players, I did set up a 4-player game with less players. You're going to have less of these treasure chests out there, but in this case, every single spot that can have a treasure chest has a treasure chest, and then randomly one of these resources is placed on each one of those spots as well. Now, it's important to note that when resources get taken off the board, they do get reintroduced back on the board by the players themselves. So if they use the resources to open up a chest, or they use the resources to buy some of these cards, they will place those resources back onto the board, and these resources can stack on top of each other, like so, to a maximum of 3 possible resources on top of each other. If there's a chest there, it doesn't matter. You can still have a stack of 3. Each one of these boats has room for 4 resources on them. So just keep that in mind as well. Now, there are some things like if you get the Man of War card here, it'll increase your ability to carry like 5 of those resources. But, you know, in this case, for the most part, you're only going to be able to do 4 resources at a time. When players do place those resources back onto the board, however, they aren't able to just place them right next to her. So, like, let's say, for example, the red player purchased purchased a card that was available in the market here, and they spent these 2 resources. They couldn't take these 2 resources and place them back on the board right next to them, so they could just pick them up right away. You do have to place them away from your ship. All right, you might have also noticed the way the ships are located, they are kind of like set up on these little dash marks here. That's how the boats move. They will not like move like there's never like a middle spot like that. Like one movement would be from here to there. One movement would be from here to here. So you just keep that in mind, that you're always going to be moving to these adjacent little squiggly marks that you notice. So each player will get a cool little player board here that will tell them exactly what their different actions they can do on their turn are, and then they're going to also have a handy dandy little thing over here that's going to tell them what type of resources it takes to open each type of chest. So if they have like a brown chest or a wooden chest, you need a green resource and a red resource, and so on and so forth down the list. Each player will also get a special like pirate leader card that will basically give them their little special power. So here, like let me find like Bartholomew Roberts. After you open a chest, grab a bottle if your ship is empty. You might have noticed these bottles over here. Bottles will have like little special bonuses, like here this is like a green resource and so forth. And also because the first player at the beginning of the game always has kind of an advantage, just because the whole board is open to them at the very beginning. Like there are little bonuses for the other players, second, third, and fourth player. They get to go ahead and take those little bonuses, and they have bonuses on them as well. All right, so how does the turn work? Well, the first player, and then after the first player goes, then it will be like, this is the Admiral marker, and this gets handed to the left after the turn is over. So the person with the Admiral marker is going to take these 4 dice. Now, if you have less than 4 players, you will use, like, the number of players is the number of dice that you're going to use. And you're going to roll these dice, and then the person that is the Admiral player is going to hand these dice out to the other players, including themselves. Now, some of these dice will just have a number on them, like here's a 4. The 4 just says that you get 4 actions, and you're going to take those actions on your turn. Sometimes they will have a number and a symbol on there, like this one has a 3 and a bottle. I knocked this one over, but it's almost fortuitous that I knocked it over. So here's a couple other things in there. There's also, like you can see, there's, if I can get that to come in, like a little skull and a little wagon wheel there. I should say a ship wheel, I should say. There's also, on those dice, there's an anchor on there as well. Now these, as you might have guessed, have to do with the 4 different, like, discs that you have in these spots. So each one of those has a special ability or a special effect if you hand somebody. So if you hand somebody this little skull squid guy here with 4, they're going to get 4 actions, but whatever special effect is enabled by using, like here, I'll even grab it here. It says scurvy on it, and it says you lose 1 action if you open a chest or buy a card. And so you would, as the Admiral, you're going to hand that to a player thinking that you would be able to kind of limit what they're going to do, and it's kind of like a bad thing. But some of them are good. So like the bottle here, it just says, message in a bottle, grab a bottle. So, that's a good one. So if you're the Admiral, maybe you hand that to yourself. Now, you can get a result, like I'm trying to find it, that has a 5 on it. Like you have a bunch of pips that allow you to move. And sometimes you'll be forced to give people like something that you actually really want. Like maybe you really want to use the high in the water, and this says +2 if your ship is empty. Maybe that's something that you really want because your ship is empty and you want to have a bunch of actions this particular turn. And you'd have to use that one, but then you're going to end up maybe giving somebody the bottle die, which you'd rather not give them something good, but you have to. And so you can kind of, and that's kind of opens up a little bit of the table talk. It's like, hey, come on, help me out here, give me that one, and next turn I'll do something nice for you. Obviously, you don't have to abide by that, but it definitely does add a lot to it. Now, you get more of these discs that you have optioned. You can choose these randomly. The players themselves can just determine which one they want to use. Definitely just lots of different ways you can distribute that and pick that. All right, so actually then on your turn, what do? Well, you just take actions, and you can see here there's a list of them, as I said, right here, and they're pretty well. Move your ship. 1 action point gets you move an action. Collect a resource. Unload a resource. Open a chest, buy a card, refresh the market. And all those should be fairly self-explanatory. If you want to, take a chest, that's an action. Move it onto your ship. You want to remove the chest, resource, not chest, do that. If you want to take a chest, you can't just take the chest. You can't leave it on your ship and cruise around for a while with that that chest on your ship, you have to be able to open up that chest with the resources that you have. And so this is why people might be asked, well, why would I ever take resources off of my ship? Well, if you notice that the largest chest, the gold chests, which have the best rewards, normally, are going to have, you have to have a gold, a white, a blue, and a red. Well, if you are sitting in a situation where you want to open up this gold chest, and let's say you had the blue, and you had the red, and you had the yellow, right? But let's say you had this purple. So you would have to you figure out a way to get unload a resource, and then be able to then take the resource back on. But here's where it gets a little tricky, is the fact that the stack, you can't, if this particular resources on top of there like so, you can't just take the white one. You can't say, I'm going to take the white one here, remove. No, you have to go by the order in which they are stacked. So here you have a situation where you would have to if you were all the little puzzle, if you will. So you have this particular on here. So how do I do this? Well, what you could do is if you have say a few actions, you could unload this blue one over to there. You could take that white one, put it on there. You could unload the purple, and then you could load the blue like that. Now those are several actions in a row that you have to do, but then you'd be able to take the gold chest. Now whenever you take a chest, you then flip it over, you look at it yourself. In this case, there is a rat, which is not normally good. There are cards you can get from the market that are going to give you points for rats that you have, but it's going to have those 2 gold coins on there, and gold coins are what's going to determine who wins the game. Now, how does the game end? Well, if there's 2 ways the game can win, game can end. If you manage to open 7 chests, just grab 7 chests and open them and put them onto your as in front of you, so that's an automatic win. It doesn't matter if somebody else has more gold. You have a bunch of rats and you haven't managed to get a bunch of gold in there. It doesn't matter. As long as you get 7 chests, you win. If it's a 2-player game, it's 8 chests, but normally with a 3 and a 4-player game, it's 7 chests. Otherwise, you play until there's only 3 chests left out on the board, and then everybody will then turn over their chests, and they'll determine the points that they get. Now, I should mention that, remember, if I had opened that chest like so, I would have to distribute these particular resources out, and I couldn't place them next to my ship. But then again, you can go out there, and that adds another wrinkle as well, where it's I know this this player really wants to get over here and unlock this silver chest. Maybe I'll stack a bunch of resources on top of it, so they won't be able to get over there and do what they want to do. And so that's another thing where you can kind of block people and mess with people a little bit, as far as kind of to decipher what their plans are and make sure that their plans don't come to fruition. But there you go. That is. Oh, and I should mention here. I'll just show you. Here's a. It's got 2, and I know there is a silver out here that, see, sometimes you can get a silver chest with 3 gold. So that silver chest technically, is better than that gold one. Let's just look at another gold chest, see what we get here. Here's one with 3. So they do increase in value. Let me grab there we go. You grab this wooden chest, and all it has is, admittedly, he's cute, but all it is a rat. And purchasing cards. Cards will just have a purchase value on them. Some of them will be a specific, you have to have a blue to purchase this, but then and one of any color can buy the blue talisman. And then it says you may use blue resources as any type of resource. These, they're upgrades. You manage to hold on to them for the rest of the game. Some of the cards themselves are fortunes. Here, and this was a card that can kind of mess with people. The sabotage, you steal a resource from an adjacent ship, but you discard this after use. So those are one shot, but the upgrades you do get to keep with them. And let me find, if I could, there's a card that allows you to, some of them are if you get handed a die that you don't like, like the swashbuckler card, will allow you to re-roll your own die. So you'll be able to, even though you might get stuck with something that you don't like, you can definitely have one of those situations where you can change your fortune with that. Here's like the Dead Man's Chest, where it says you can win outright by opening only 6 chests, or 7 in a 2-player game. So, that's actually pretty good. But here's like that rat bounty. Like here's your little rat cage, and it says plus 2 gold for each rat that you have in your chest. So like, rats can sometimes actually pull off a win for you if you manage to get those. But there you go. That is Sea of Nadia. As I said, the game itself is rather easy to teach. It's just deciphering and figuring out the puzzle of your turn is what's fun. But I'll talk about that and more in my final thoughts. All right, thank you very much for taking the time to watch how to play the game of Sea of Nadia. So the first time I played this game was actually with the designer at Gen Con. We were like in one of those, if you've ever been to a convention when it gets kind of later in the evening and you end up in like a hotel and lots of different hotels that have like gaming areas set up. And we were actually scrambling to try to find a table because there wasn't a lot available. We've managed to find one in a fairly well-lit area. It wasn't the best spot in the world, but I had a lot of fun. I even won my first game of it. I had a lot of fun playing it just because of the fact that like when even as a 2-player game, like trying to determine like what I could do on any given turn. I knew from the get-go it was just one of those games that like appealed to me. I'm a big proponent of like variable player powers, which this game has. I love I don't want to say programmable movement because we aren't programming, but basically economy of actions or economy of your turns, if you will, because you're all kind of racing against each other to gather the most treasure. And if you don't make good use of the turns and the actions that you're given, you're going to end up in a situation where other players are going to be taking those treasure chests, taking those resources, taking those cards that you want yourself. And if you're not quick on the draw and you're not thinking light on your feet, you're not going to be able to snag those points that are going to actually lead yourself to a victory. This is an excellent game, I think, for both players who are getting into the hobby because of the smaller rule set that's involved. But also, I'm going to say that the people I played with in my game group who are well-seasoned board game players, they have had a lot of fun with it just because of the fact that this is a very, very confrontational game as far as like the racing to those treasure chests, getting in the way of each other, things like that, that they've enjoyed the this isn't like a huge conflict game. I don't want to say that it isn't like you're dragging the victory and crawling over your dead opponents to claim victory or anything like that. It isn't so much like that. What I've discovered, what it is more though, is that you have to contend with the other player's intellect and their ability to just be doing exactly what you want to do and getting in your way, whether they're purposely doing that or not. It's going to happen. And when you add that human element to a game, instead of just like the actual mechanisms of the game that you're fighting against, the difficulty and the interaction with the players adds so many different varied levels of interest to me, and also varied levels of making. I always think that tough decisions, even though I agonize over them, make for really, really good games. And Sea of Nadia gives me tough decisions in a game that is relatively lightweight. And so that's why I think it kind of bridges that gap between people that enjoy more complex games and people that just maybe aren't, don't want to read a 40-page rule book to learn how to play a Euro or something like that. So I really, really enjoyed my plays of Sea of Nadia. If you're looking for something that has a cool pirate theme, has some pretty cool artwork, great. This was the prototype that I was given, so the actual finished game might not look like this at all, but what I had in front of me was fantastic. I love the tactile feeling of the boats. I love the big blocky resources, and everything of it just looked nice and was fun to play with. So it's got great art, it's got great pieces, and it's got great gameplay, and I think you'll have a lot of fun with it. So if you have any questions about Sea of Nadia, please ask ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. And remember, give as much love out to the universe as you possibly can. I guarantee you the universe will love you right back. Until next time, I'm the Undead Viking.